This inseparability of content and method, of particularity and universality, is what sets philosophy apart from other disciplines and makes its presentation uniquely challenging. An historical account of philosophy's tendencies may provide valuable context, and a summary of its general content may offer an initial orientation. Yet neither can substitute for the rigorous unfolding of philosophical truth in its systematic form. The reader must engage with philosophy on its own terms, following its movement as it progresses from one moment to the next, rather than expecting its truths to be handed down in ready-made conclusions or assurances. Philosophy's universality, while its greatest strength, is also the source of its most persistent illusion, that its ultimate results, standing alone, express the full essence of its subject matter. To succumb to this illusion is to miss the richness and depth of philosophical inquiry, which lies not in its conclusions alone, but in the intricate pathways through which those conclusions are reached. The task of philosophy, then, is to resist the temptation to bypass this process, to reveal truth not as a static object, but as a living totality, accessible only through the dialectical movement of thought. In contrast to philosophy, other disciplines often rely on general representations that provide a clear but limited definition of their subject matter. Consider anatomy, which is commonly defined as the study of the parts of the body viewed in their lifeless existence. Such a definition, while useful for orientation, is immediately understood to be insufficient. It gestures toward the subject matter of anatomy, but does not yet encompass its depth or content. It is clear to anyone engaging with this field that the true substance of the discipline lies in its detailed study of the body's structures and their interrelations, not merely in the abstract idea of parts or their inert state. To truly understand anatomy, one must engage with its particulars, the intricate forms of nerves, muscles, bones, and organs, as well as the dynamic interplay between these components in the living organism. This recognition, the understanding that general definitions cannot capture the full richness of a discipline, applies broadly to legitimate sciences. Whether in anatomy, biology, physics, or any other field, one accepts that definitions and generalities serve only as starting points. They are useful for setting the stage, but must be supplemented by detailed investigations, observations, and analyses. These particulars are not optional addenda, they are essential to the discipline itself, providing the substance and depth that bring the initial definitions to life. However, when dealing with a mere aggregation of knowledge that lacks the coherence and systematicity required to bear the name of science, this dynamic changes. In such cases, the general representations and discussions about purpose, content, or context are often indistinguishable from the content itself. For example, a collection of information about nerves, muscles, or other anatomical components presented without an organizing framework or unifying principle does not constitute anatomy in the scientific sense. It becomes at best a descriptive catalog, and at worst a conceptless enumeration of facts. Without a guiding structure or a method to reveal the interconnections and deeper significance of the material, such a collection remains superficial, incapable of advancing understanding. This distinction underscores the critical difference between genuine sciences and mere accumulations of information. Genuine sciences, like anatomy, recognize the insufficiency of general definitions and actively seek to transcend them by engaging with particular details in a systematic and methodical way. They aim to uncover not just the existence of discrete elements, but the principles and relationships that animate and unify them. Philosophy, operating on an even higher level, must likewise resist the temptation to rely on generalities alone. While it begins in the realm of universality, its task is to bring this universality into concrete form through the dialectical development of thought.